Hello, my name is Amanda and welcome to this video where I'm going to be showing you my collection of mini quilts and wall hangings. So to my left here I have a pile of all of my mini quilts and wall hangings to show you. They're not in any particular order because I just sort of went around my house, grabbed everything that I wanted to share with you and put them in a pile. So the first one that I have to show you is a little bit too big to actually show you on camera, but I'll do a little cutaway for you to see it. And it is my summer bloom quilt, and it's the little purple fractured kind of flower one that I did. Oh, I can show you a little bit here, but it's this one. So this one was made for a quilt competition that I entered in 2012. The competition was called How Does Your Garden Grow? And so that was sort of like the inspiration to sort of base your quilts on. And I had this beautiful purple flower growing in our backyard during the summer, and I took a photo of it, and it was that photo that sort of inspired me to make this quilt. So the entire front of this quilt was paper pieced. I did like this big huge template out of cardboard and cut it all up and then pieced it all together, and the way that I quilted it was just exactly the same way as I usually do, and that's with straight vertical line quilting. The one other thing I love about this quilt is the quilt label that I did. It really is one of my favorite quilt labels I think I've ever made. It's one of the most elaborate ones I've ever made as well, and it's this beautiful little Dresden plate that I was initially going to put on the front of the quilt, but it just didn't really quite work, so I thought, oh, let's not waste it, put it as the quilt label, and I think it just looks fantastic. It's a little bit of a shame that I don't really see it when it's hung up because it's, you know, facing the wall, but it is what it is. And yeah, I just really love it. I can't believe I actually had the time and the patience to make this. It really did take a long time to make. So the next mini quilt that I have to share with you is one that I made last year, and you've all seen it before, and it is my Crown of Thorns mini quilt. Now I made this one for my very first blog hop with RJR Fabrics using their Cotton Supreme solid range. They gave me the choice to choose any of the fabrics from their range to then make a quilt and share with you what you can do with their fabrics, I guess. This particular mini quilt hangs up in my sewing room just above my sewing table, and I absolutely love it because I love colour, I love the sort of fun and modernist kind of theme or aesthetic that it brings to my sewing room, and yeah, I really love it. Also with this quilt, it was the first time I really experimented with like the grid quilting, and I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. It was a lot easier than what I expected it to be, but at the same time you really do need to be very particular with the way that you've marked out your lines just to make sure that everything looks even and proper and all that sort of stuff. So along with the blog post I wrote for this little mini quilt, I also did a tutorial on the way to make the quilt top, so if you haven't seen that, there is a link to that on the screen and also down below if you want to check it out. Now the next mini that I have to show you is another one that I made last year. I think 2015 was my year of making mini quilts because I made quite a lot last year. And this one is my very cute little pineapple mini. Ah! If you don't know the story, on Instagram last year I used to see this pineapple everywhere, and I just thought it was the most cutest, sweetest thing ever. Now the original pattern is actually a lot smaller than this. I actually made my pineapple a lot bigger because I wanted to sort of put it in a specific place in our house, and the original pattern was just too small for that. So I just made the squares a lot bigger than the pattern, and this is how it turned out. One of the other things I love about this mini is I was able to use a striped binding. I absolutely love using a striped fabric for binding. I just think it just adds, I don't know, movement, and just I love it. I don't really know how to really describe it, but I love using stripes for binding. And I also just really love the colour combination of blue and yellow together. I think it's because they're not really opposites on the colour wheel, but they're pretty close. But I think there's just something really modern and vibrant and just really fresh about putting a navy blue with a yellow, and because of that I really love this quilt. Another one of my 2015 mini quilts is one that I think is just super sweet, and as soon as I saw the pattern on Instagram, on YouTube, on pretty much every other social platform that there is for quilters, I knew that I had to download it and print it and just love the heck out of it. And it is the Fat Quarter Shop Pandamonium quilt. Oh. I just think that the concept of this mini quilt is one of the most sweetest things ever. So I found the pattern for this mini quilt really easy to follow. It is a free download from the Fat Quarter Shop website. There's a link down below if you want to print it out yourself. And I just had lots of fun choosing out the fabrics and piecing it together and just watching her come to life and just be as sweet as anything. Currently I have this little beauty hanging on my bedroom door, and she just brightens everything up and just brings lots of joy to my end of the house, really. Yeah. The next little quilt that I have to show you is one that I made a couple of years back now in 2014, and I look at this one as a real true mini quilt because it is extremely mini and very, very cute. And it's this one called Golden Trail, named because I used the snail trail block throughout the quilt. Now this was the first time I ever used a shot cotton as sort of like the main background in a quilt, and I really enjoyed using it. It did fray a lot, but I did find that the handle of it and the way that it feels and the texture of it is really nice, really clean, and just really kind of natural, and I love that sort of look and feel to a fabric. With this one I think I just really wanted to make it extremely simple, really down to earth, using just two different colours. The yellow that I've used was like a chevron type print, and I really quite like the different directions that it brought within the little snail trail blocks that I used. This little mini I entered into the 2014 Sydney Quilt Show. It didn't win anything, but that's not really the point. The point is just entering and being a part of something really quite huge, and just sort of seeing your work amongst all of the others and just being really excited seeing it up there and people seeing it, which is quite scary to have your quilt judged by strangers. Ooh. The next one up is a wall hanging that I made in 2013, and I made this one specifically at a time when I knew that my sort of sewing space would be moving into its own room. So of course I had to make a new wall hanging to sort of hang up and be inspired by. And the one that I made is this one. It is called I Heart Colour, and I just absolutely love it because I really do I heart colour. The way that I made it is I just used the wonky log cabin block that I have previously shown you in a tutorial, and I just used all of my coloured scraps and sort of made them into block colours and then pieced them together into this quilt. It was such an easy, fun quilt to make, and I really enjoyed finding colours and matching them all together and just seeing the blocks sort of come to life and look really lovely. The sole intention of this quilt was to show off colours and to sort of bring them all together into sort of like a colour wheel type design, but not really. I just really wanted each block to sort of shine the specific colour that I chose for that block, and I think that worked out really well. And then for the back I did a really cool pieced backing with strips of colour just to sort of keep using up all of the scrap fabrics that I had. And then for the quilt label I did one of my most favourite ways to do a quilt label, and that was with hand embroidery, and I just did it all with different colours to sort of tie it all in with the I Heart Colour theme of the quilt. So this quilt used to hang up above my sewing table, but that has now been replaced by my Crown of Thorns mini quilt. So to be honest, this one doesn't really quite have a home. It's just sort of folded up and put into a dark corner of my sewing room, but now that I've got it out I actually really quite love it. I might find somewhere to place that, I think. So the final mini quilt that I have to share with you is the final one that I made last year, and I think it's actually one of my favourites. It is just super sweet and I love the fabrics, and it's just I just love everything about it really. And it is my Notting Hill House mini quilt. As I said, absolutely everything about this I love. I love the Englishy, cottagey type vibe that it has. I love the soft pastels and also this bright sort of turquoisey type green that I was able to use, and the red door. Yeah. I think my dream house is a house like this with a red door, so that's why I put a red door on it. I have this one hanging in my room, and I see it every time I wake up in the morning, and it just really just brings a smile to my face. I love how clean and crisp and modern it is. I love the way that I've quilted it. I love the way that I just did a really plain basic binding, and yeah, I just really love it. And I think one of the things that I love about this pattern, as well as the Pandamonium pattern that I made, is you can definitely expand these into really beautiful quilts. make them into baby quilts, make them into, you know, a quilt for a best friend, or even for someone who is moving into like a new home. This would be really, really nice for that. I think that'd be a really nice sort of way to say congratulations on moving out of home finally. Yeah! I think I previously mentioned in one of my last videos that I'm really loving the hanging of mini quilts with hangers. This is the quilt that started that off with me. I had one of you suggest to hang it just using a really nice hanger, and so I have, and it's sort of sparked this really cool kind of aesthetic that I'm really digging right now, and it really just makes life a whole lot easier. You don't have to like now slave away trying to do like a sleeve on the back to hang it. Just clip a really lovely little coat hanger onto the top, and hey presto, you've got a really nice hanging wall hanging, or mini quilt, whichever one you want to call it. So there we have it. Those are all of the mini quilts that I have made and own in my collection. I don't think I've ever given away a mini quilt or a wall hanging. Everything that I've made has just stayed here in my house and been hung up on our walls. I absolutely love making mini quilts and wall hangings because they are simple and quick and can be really effective and just really brighten up a space and bring the patchwork quilting aesthetic to any room, and I love that aesthetic, hence the quilt that is hanging behind me. So the majority of the mini quilts and wall hangings that I have shown you, you yourself have the ability to make yourself. I've either linked up tutorials that I've made on them or the patterns to each of them if you would like to make them yourself, and as I've mentioned throughout the video, you can find all of that down in the description box below. And so with that, as always, thank you all so much for watching, and hope to see you another time very, very soon. Bye! This quilt is made using some of the beautiful DS quilt fabrics that came out in 2012. I bought pretty much a ton of them because I absolutely love them, and I think some of these fabrics are still like some of my all-time favorites.